There are people you'll never forget. But what about the people who never forgot you? You won't know their names. You won't remember the moment. But somehow, you changed something in them, and they never forgot. Sometimes, your presence was a turning point in someone's life. A smile, a sentence, a quiet moment of kindness. You won't remember it, but they do. You might have walked past a stranger who was ready to give up, and maybe something about you, the way you looked at them, the way you didn't look away, made them pause, made them wait just one more day. And you'll never know. You've lived moments like that, fleeting, wordless, and remarkable on the surface. But underneath, they shifted something in someone else. A thought, a belief, a decision. We spend so much of our lives wondering if we matter, if anyone truly sees us. But meaning isn't always loud. It's not always told. Sometimes, it's carried quietly by someone else for years. Have you ever been haunted by someone you barely knew? A teacher who made you feel safe when no one else did. A friend you drifted from but never stopped admiring. A person you admired from afar, who gave you a version of hope, even if they never noticed you. That's what we are to others too. We are chapters in books we'll never get to read. A page in someone's memory, not because we planned it, but because we existed exactly when they needed us to. And still, we don't see it. We think we have to do something grand. We think our worth is tied to applause, or acknowledgement, or numbers on a screen. But sometimes, the most powerful thing you've ever done was be there, even when you were lost, even when you felt small, even when you had no idea someone was watching, someone who needed to see that you kept going. Maybe you smiled on a day you didn't want to. Maybe you held the door open, or gave someone the right words at the right time, and then forgot about it the next hour. But they didn't. You'll never know how much you meant to someone, not because they didn't want to tell you, but because life moved on, or they couldn't find the words, or maybe they just didn't realize it themselves until it was too late. And yet, there it is, your impact, living quietly in someone else's story. This isn't a sad thing. It's beautiful, because it means that your life has mattered more than you'll ever fully grasp. So tonight, as you lie awake wondering if you're enough, remember, your presence might have been someone's light in the dark, and you didn't even know. Sometimes, the moment passes before we even know it mattered. A goodbye that felt ordinary, but ended up being the last. A moment that should have been paused, but kept moving. A conversation where we meant to say more, but didn't. And then, years later, it floats back. Their face, their voice, the feeling they gave you. You remember how they made you laugh, or how they stood by you when no one else did, or how they seemed to understand a part of you that you couldn't explain. And it hits you. You never really told them. Not fully, not clearly, not in the way they deserved. Maybe you thought there'd be more time. Maybe you were afraid of being too honest. Or maybe life just got busy, the way it always does. And now they're gone. Not necessarily in the dramatic sense. Just gone. Somewhere out there, continuing their life, and you're continuing yours. But something still lingers. It's strange, isn't it? How someone can become a permanent part of your story, even if they were only in it for a short time. And here's the thing we rarely think about. You've done that for someone too. Someone, somewhere, remembers you in the same quiet way. They replay a memory you've long forgotten. They smile at the thought of you, even if they don't say it out loud, even if they don't have your number anymore, Even if life has pulled you into entirely different worlds, you might never get that message. You might never hear those words, but it doesn't mean they're not thinking them. There are people who've scrolled past your old messages and smiled. People who've kept a photo of you without knowing why. People who've told stories about you to their friends, not because they miss you, but because you meant something real. We often look at our lives and wonder, did I leave anything behind? Did I really matter? And maybe we look for proof in the wrong places. We look for praise, for recognition, for milestones that can be measured. But the truth is, the most important things you've ever done were probably invisible to you. A moment of kindness, a show of patience, a time when you chose not to walk away. And maybe it changed someone. Maybe it saved someone. Maybe it gave them the strength to be here today. Would they ever tell you that? Probably not. Not because they don't care, but because most of us never find the words. We carry our gratitude in silence until we're reminded of what we lost. And by then, it's often too late. That's the thing about impact. You don't always get to witness it. It's like planting seeds in someone else's garden, never knowing if they bloomed. And yet, they do. So if you're listening to this right now, wondering if any of it mattered, if you mattered, let me say it simply. Yes, in ways you'll never fully know. To people you may never meet again. In moments that quietly changed someone else's life. If you've ever looked back and realized someone mattered more than you ever said, feel free to share it in the comments. Sometimes, just putting it into words can be its own kind of healing. And who knows, maybe your story will help someone else feel less alone too. And if someone out there is holding a memory of you, I hope they feel it fully. I hope they know it was real. And I hope, in some way, that you can feel it too. Sometimes, you are just a background character in your own eyes. A quiet face in a hallway. A name called once in a classroom. A stranger on the train. Deep in thought. Unremarkable. Easily forgotten, but not by everyone. There are moments in other people's lives where you were the center, and you'll never know it. You were the kindness that stood out in a sea of indifference. You were the laugh they needed when everything else felt too heavy. You were the only person who asked how they were and waited for the answer. You thought it was nothing. They thought it was everything. This is the strange truth we rarely say out loud. Sometimes, someone's most important memory is your most ordinary moment. That time you helped without being asked. That day you shared your lunch. That time you told someone they were doing okay, even when you didn't know they were barely holding on. You won't remember it, but they do, because it gave them something real in a world that felt unreal. Think of how many people have passed through your life, briefly, barely noticed, and yet, a few left marks, not through grand gestures, but through something quiet, a sense of safety, a feeling of warmth, a sentence you still repeat to yourself years later. Now turn it around. That's you, in someone else's memory. They don't need a photo of you. They don't need to know your full story, because in that one moment, you were part of theirs, and it mattered. Isn't that wild? You could be the reason someone didn't give up, the reason someone still believes there are kind people in the world, the reason someone learned to forgive, because you showed them patience they didn't know they deserved. And you'll never know, because impact doesn't knock. It doesn't announce itself. It happens quietly, like light through a window you didn't notice until it moved. You won't get a notification. You won't be tagged. You won't be credited. But someone, somewhere, is better, because you existed, not because you were perfect. Not because you had everything figured out, but because you were you, real, flawed, trying, and that was enough. And that's the part we forget. We think we have to be loud to be heard, that we have to be seen to matter. But some of the most powerful parts of your life will never be witnessed by you. They'll live inside others, quietly, softly, forever. You are someone's warm memory, someone's turning point, someone's proof that not all people leave scars. And you may never know it, but they do. So even if no one says it, even if no one reaches out, your presence has already rippled far beyond what you can measure. You've shaped lives, changed paths, healed hearts, and in a world where so many feel invisible, maybe that's the most important kind of legacy there is. We spend so much time searching for proof that we've mattered, that we made a difference, that someone saw us, really saw us. We look for signs, for thanks, for closure, but life rarely gives us that. The people who loved us deeply may never have found the courage to say it. The lives we touched may never circle back to show us the ripple we created. And the stories we shaped, they move on without us, like waves we'll never chase down. And yet, the ripple still exists. The truth is, you won't get to witness your full impact. You won't know all the people you helped, all the hearts you softened, all the times someone whispered your name into a memory and smiled. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. You see, we often confuse visibility with value, but not all light is seen. Some is felt, quietly, deeply, long after the source has moved on. Maybe you'll never hear them say it out loud. You saved me that day. You made me feel like I belonged. You were the only one who noticed. But somewhere out there, someone holds your memory like a lifeline. And maybe that's enough. Maybe we don't need to be celebrated to have mattered. Maybe the point was never to be remembered by everyone, but to be remembered by someone. Fully, honestly, softly. You didn't need to change the world. You already changed a world, even if it wasn't your own. Maybe a child still carries the kindness you showed their parent. Maybe a stranger still remembers the way you didn't look away. Maybe someone still thinks of you when they're trying to be brave. That's the strange magic of being human. You are felt in places you've never been. You echo in hearts you never knew you reached. You live on in moments that no one but them remembers. And maybe, just maybe, that's where your truest legacy lives. Not in fame, not in numbers, not in anything loud, but in the quiet comfort of a thought, in the way someone breathes easier because of you, in the decisions someone made to keep going, because you existed. You'll never know how much you meant to someone, not because they didn't care, but because life is messy, and time is fast, and some feelings are too big for words. But here's what I can tell you. You have already made a difference. Even if no one told you, even if you don't feel it yet, even if all you did was show up again and again when it was hard, that matters. So tonight, or any night when the silence feels heavy, remember this. You are someone's soft memory. You are someone's quiet miracle. You are someone's unspoken gratitude. And even if you never know their name, they will always remember yours.